Guys, welcome back to my channel. Just the way I promised, matching top for the skirts that I made a few weeks ago. I delivered. I will always deliver, but I just wanted to show you guys how you can make this lace top. This is how it looks from the back. I wanted to still use the double crochet that I used for the skirt at the back, just so you guys can see the matchy thing going on. The front does come with a lace pattern and the back is with a lace and the double crochet like you did see, and then the waistband, which obviously just snatches the waist for you so you can have time to show off the lace going on around the skirt as well. Everything together I just love. The pattern was worked in for honestly 5 different panels. You have to work the waistband separately, the front and the back panel, which are the same, the front 2 front panels, which are basically the same pattern, but then you're working on them separately, the 2 back panel, which are the same, but then you're working on them separately. So in total you're basically working on 3 different patterns, which is just a simple steps. You just have to repeat them twice just so you can have 2 for the front and 2 for the back. You don't have to do any sleeve because the pattern itself just automatically falls down to the sleeve, so it just gives you this free, you don't have to think about doing any sleeve. And then of course the drawstring that I added to the waistband, I used the same material that I used for the skirt. You can see that this one is just in the off-white and then it has the same glitters to it. I just could not find the red or the blue so I can make a matching top, but I just thought the best color that can actually go with these 2 colors are just white or off-white, so I decided to go with this one. I love the way it turned out. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any questions, as always, don't forget to leave it down below. I used a 2.5 for the entire pattern, so I did not switch to any other size. I used a 2.5 for the back, for the band, for the front, and for the lace up string. Every information will be down in the description box below as well. I used about 300 gram if I'm not mistaken, but if this is wrong, I'm just going to leave the right amount in the description box below. Let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye. We're going to divide the bust measurement by 4, sorry. So because the front panel is worked in 2 different panels and the back panel is worked in 2 different panels, which means you're going to divide your bust measurement by 4. So in my case, my bust measurement is about 42 inches. I'm going to divide that figure by 2, which is 21 inches, and again the 21 inches will be divided by 2 again. I hope that makes sense. But you basically have to divide your bust measurement into 4 different halves so you can have 4 different panels at the end of the day. So when you have your measurement, your numbers, you're just going to go ahead and make a slip knot. I'm using a 2.5 by the way, so I'm just going to make a slip knot and I'm going to chain a total of 72. I'm chaining 72 because the pattern itself, the lace pattern itself, is worked in multiple of 9 plus 5, but because we are working in after double crochet panel for the first few rows, we don't have to add the 5 because it's going to be, the lace is going to come right after the double crochet rows. So instead I'm just going to chain in multiple of 9, which is 72 in my case. It is a bit above my actual measurement, but the reason why I added a few inches is just because it's just plain safe. Instead of being small, then it's not going to be too big, or it's going to be too big. It's going to be big, but it's not going to be small, which is still plain safe. So I'm just going to chain a total of 72 to do that. So after chaining in your multiple of 9, you're going to chain an extra one because this is just going to be a turning chain. So at the end of the row, you still need to keep 72. You still need to make sure you have a multiple of 9 stitches. So I'm going to go into the second chain from the crochet hook with a double crochet. And right after, I'm just going to go into every chain with 1 double crochet until I get to the very end of the row. So at the end of this row, I should have a total of 2 chains of double crochet, which is still the same as multiple of 9. Hey guys, so right here I just finished the first row, so we are going to start off by chaining one, and we are going to just repeat a double crochet row for a total of 5 inches. So right from here I'm just going to go into this very first stitch with a double crochet after chaining one, and I'm going to repeat one double crochet just like this until I get to the very end of the row, and I'll see you guys at the end of the row. But this is what I'm going to repeat until I have a total of 5 inches, and I'll see you guys at the end of that, because we're going to do the lace for a few more inches just so we can increase the front panel and the back panel to have the same length. So I'm just going to repeat this, and I'll see you guys when I have my 5 inches complete. Hey guys, so I just finished my 18 rows of double crochet. Now we are going to actually just do the lace pattern again, and this time around that's the reason why I did chain in the multiple of 9, so I can have the lace pattern to complete the row. So what I'm going to do from here on is I'm going to go ahead and, so to start the lace pattern you're going to chain 1, and into this very first stitch you're going to go with a treble crochet. After your double crochet you're going to chain 2, go into that same stitch again with a double crochet, chain 2, into the same stitch with a double crochet, chain 2, into the same stitch with a double crochet, and to end of the row you're going to chain 2. To end of this lace you're going to go into that same stitch with a treble crochet. So we basically have a treble crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, and finally a treble crochet right into that stitch. From here on you're going to go ahead and skip 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and into the 9th you're going to repeat the same thing, which is a treble crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, and finally chain 2, a treble crochet. And this is what I'm going to repeat until I get to the end. So I'm going to skip 8 again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and into the 9th I'm going to repeat the same thing. Repeat this, and I will see you guys at the very end of the row. So I'm going to go into this very last stitch with a treble crochet, and right there I have the first row complete. So for the next row you're going to chain 3 and turn, and you're going to yarn over twice because we are going to repeat a treble crochet, but this time around we will be doing that into the center stitch. So right here in this set of 5 stitch you can see we have a treble crochet, a double crochet, a double crochet, a double crochet, and lastly a treble crochet. So I'm going to go into the center stitch with a treble crochet. Right after I'm going to chain 2, go into that same stitch with a double crochet, chain 2, into that same stitch with a double crochet, and I'm basically repeating the pattern, which is a treble crochet, 3 double crochets in between with a chain 2, and then lastly a treble crochet to end off the row, to end off the lace, sorry, for that first lace. So you basically have a treble crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, and then a treble crochet. Right afterwards you're going to chain, you're going to yarn over twice again and go into that center stitch with a treble crochet, chain 2, go into that same stitch with double crochet, chain 2, go into that stitch again with another double crochet, chain 2 with another double crochet into that same stitch, and lastly you're going to chain 2 and go into that stitch with a treble crochet. And this is what you're going to repeat when I'm at the end of the second row of the lace. I'm just going to show you guys how you can end up the row. So you want to make sure you go into that center stitch and repeat the same lace right there. You repeat the same lace, and to start off the new row you're going to chain 3 and turn, and now you're going to go into the center stitch again with the same lace, and that is what you're going to repeat until you get to the very end. When you get to the end of the row, make sure you go into the center stitch with the same lace and then a chain. After I have my chain 77 chain, which is my multiple of 9 plus 5, I am going to go ahead and start with the lace pattern. So I'm going to skip the first 8 stitches, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and into the 9th I'm going to go with a treble crochet, which is basically yarn over twice, go into the chain, grab the yarn, pull through. Now I have 4 loops. I'm going to yarn over, pull through the first 2 loops, yarn over, pull through the second 2, and lastly yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. So right there I have a chain 8 and then the first double crochet. From here on I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, and right into that same stitch I'm going to go with a double crochet. After the double crochet I'm going to chain 2 again, go into that stitch with another double crochet, chain 2, go into that same stitch with another double crochet. So now I have a triple crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, and lastly a double crochet. But to end up the lace, we are going to just go ahead and add a treble crochet to the very end because we have one at the very beginning. So you're going to chain 2 again, and lastly you're going to yarn over twice, go into that same chain with a treble crochet, pull through, yarn over, pull through the second 2 loops, and lastly through the last 2 loops, and right there you have your first lace complete. From here on you're going to yarn over twice, you're going to skip 8 chains. So basically right from the last stitch you're going to count 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and into the 9th you're going to go with a treble crochet. Just the same thing I did in the last lace. I'm just going to yarn over, and right there I have my first double crochet, going to chain 2, and right into that very same stitch I'm going to go with a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, and a double crochet to end off the second lace. And this is what it should look like after your first 2 lace. So from here on you're going to repeat the same step, which is yarn over twice, skip 8 chains, 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8, and into the 9th you're going to go with a treble crochet, and repeat the same lace pattern again until you get to the very end of the row. And I'll see you guys when you get to the end. At the end you should have a total of 5 chains, which is the extra 5 chains that we chained, and then I'm going to see you guys and show you guys how you can go ahead and end off the row. So coming to the very end of the row, I'm going to just go into that very last chain with a double crochet, and that is going to end off the row. And for the next row you're going to chain 3 and turn. This time around you're going to yarn over twice, and you're going to go into the center stitch just the same way you did for the back panel. This is what you're going to repeat by going into that center stitch with the same pattern: a treble crochet, chain 2, a double crochet, chain 2, another double crochet into that same stitch, chain 2, and next double crochet, and lastly you're going to chain 2, and you're going to go into that same stitch with a treble crochet. And this is what you're going to repeat until you get to the very end of the row. And when you get to the end of the row you're going to go into this stitch right here with a double crochet to end of the row. And that is what I'm going to repeat. I think I did about 22, if I'm not mistaken. I did about 22 rows, and of course I had to do like 2 panels of each. So I'm going to repeat this all over again until I have this the entire panel complete. And I'm going to come show you guys, and you're just going to repeat that over again for the opposite side of the panel, and I'll see you guys when I have that complete. Guys, I finished the 22 rows of lace pattern for the panel. Again, this is one panel, which means I need to repeat the same exact step for the opposite side of the panel. because we need 2 of these so we can complete the front panel. It is about 11.5 inches, but because this is a lace pattern and the yarn is a cotton yarn, this stretches all the way to maybe 13 or 14 inches, which is perfect. So I'm going to repeat the same exact step for the opposite front panel. Okay guys, so I finished the 2 front panels and the 2 back panel, and this is how it should look like. So you should have 2 of these with the double crochet underneath and then the lace at the top, and then you also have these 2 different panels which are just like a lace pattern. Again, I did a total of 22 rows for each lace, which actually just level up with the amount of rows I did on the back panel. So what I did was I did 11 rows of lace, but then I just divided the length from this front panel, and I did double crochet rows up until I get to the half of the measurement, and then the remaining rest was just done with a total of 11 lace. Again, one lace is just basically one of this, and this is what you're going to repeat until you have a total of 4 panels. And when you have that complete, it does look a little bit too wide compared to how it should look, but this is where the waistband is going to come on later, so we can adjust the waist and have the waist fitted while the rest of the top is actually on the free side and on the bigger side. So now you're going to grab your front panel and align that right above the back panel. You're going to do that for the opposite panel as well. So now you have 4 panels, but you want to make sure you align the front panel on top of one of the back panel, and then you do the same thing on the opposite side. And what you're going to do in this case is you're going to grab the measurement tape and decide how wide you want the armpit hole to be. I want the armpit hole to be super wide because the sleeve, the panels are big, so they can fall around your sleeve, your arm and your sleeve. So if you make this too tight, you're going to have this entire piece around your shoulders, which is not the look you're going for. So what I would suggest you do is just make this way more wider than you usually would. So for example, mine is about 11 inches, 12 inches actually. So usually my armpit hole measurement is about 7 inches, because when you divide 14 by 2, that would give you a total of 7. But because I want mine to be wider, I am going to add 2 additional inches to it. So instead of having 7 inches, I'm going to have 9 inches in this case, which is going to be 2 inches wider. But then also on the opposite side is going to be 2 inches wider, which in total is going to be 4 inches wider. So in this case, I'm just going to grab the measurement tape, make sure I start from the very top, and then I'm going to mark where the 9 inches actually ends, and right from the 9 inches is where I'm going to single crochet both of the 2 panels up until the very end. Again, you want to make sure you're single crocheting 1 front panel to 1 back panel, and not the 1 front panel to 1 front panel, because it doesn't work like that. So you're going to still make sure you single crochet 1 front panel to 1 back panel, and you're doing the same thing on the opposite side, same amount of 9 inches, and then from the 9 inches downwards you're going to single crochet your way all the way down. So I'm going to get that done, and then I'll come back and show you guys what the next step is. Hey guys, so right here I have this side single crochet together. I forgot to mention that you want to make sure, just the same way you worked on the panel from the bottom to the top, that's the same way you're attaching. So you're going to look for the bottom part of the lace, and that's where you're going to attach to the bottom part of the back panel, because remember we started with a double crochet and then upward. So this side is going to be single crochet together, while this upper part is going to be left open. I already attached this side together, but I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like before I do the opposite side as well. So right here you can see that I single crocheted downwards coming up, and then I did single crochet the entire shoulders together. So I'm going to do the same thing on the side because I haven't done that yet. So I'm just going to now go ahead and single crochet the entire shoulders together, making sure I grab one stitch after the other, because this is a lace stitch, and then I'll come back and show you guys what the next step is. For now, I'm just going to single crochet the top, and I'll see you guys when I have that complete. Get started with the band for the waist. You're going to just make a slip knot, and you're going to chain a chain. I think about 16 chains, because that is the length that I'm going for. So if you want the length to be longer, then you have to do more chains, but I chained a total of 16, so I'm just going to chain 16. So after your 16 chain, you're going to just chain an extra one, just so you can keep the length. Now right from here, you're going to start working your after hook crochet stitch. After hook crochet stitch is basically yarn over, go into the second chain, grab the yarn, pull through. Now I have 3 loops, and I'm just going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. And this is what I'm going to repeat, 1 after hook crochet into every chain until I get to the very end. Just the same way you just make a basic waistband for anything. That's what we're doing in this pattern. So I'm just going to repeat 1 after hook crochet until I get to the very end of the row. So right here I'm at the end of the row. Coming to the end of the row, I'm going to chain 1 and turn, and this time around we're going to work in the back loops, and these are the back loops, the ones at the back. Usually you have 2 loops, so you're going to go into that back loop with your stitches. So you're going to yarn over, go into this very first stitch, right into that stitch you're going to go with your after hook crochet stitch, making sure you're going into the back loop. You're going to yarn over again, go into the next back loop of the next stitch, and you're going to just work your after hook crochet stitch into the back loops of the previous row, and you're going to do that until you get to the end of the row. When you get to the end, you're going to chain 1 and repeat this all over again until you have your waist measurement. And you can maybe reduce about 2 to 3 inches off, because then you have gap for the lace up at the very front. But if you want it to just seal, then you're just going to repeat that for your exact waist measurement. Make sure you stretch the band as you go, just so you have the perfect waist measurement. So I'm just going to repeat that, and I'll see you guys when I have that complete. Hey guys, so I have my band complete, and again I did reduce about 2 inches of my original waist measurement, because there is going to be a gap in between this that you're going to use to lace up. But you know, that's optional. If you want it to be closed up, you can also just do that. All you have to do is just add the amount of waist you do, so you can have your exact waist measurement. But this is what it looks like so far. You can tell that it's very stretchy, so keep that in mind as well when you're taking the measurements, because you want this to be fitted. Yes, like I was saying, instead of 4, now we have 2. So what we're going to do in this case, you're going to grab the waistband, because this is where you're going to attach the entire edge of this panel to, of this one panel to, and then the opposite panel to. But the problem is, well, not entirely a problem, but the struggle now is just to see how we are going to attach these entire stitches around the edge of this panel onto this waistband, because you guys can tell that the waistband is literally like 2 times smaller, or even 3 times smaller. So this is where the pattern comes in mind, because this has to fit around the waist but be free around the upper part. I'm still going to leave this side open, but I'm going to show you guys how you can go ahead and do this. So because there's going to be an opening at the very front of the band, and because we're going to have a lace thing going on at the front like you guys did see, what I'm going to do in this case is I'm just going to align this band, fold the band into 2, and right after folding into 2, I'm just going to play around and make sure I get the center band, but then at the same time I'm leaving the gap, because this is not my exact waist measurement. The gap is supposed to just fill in when it comes to my exact waist measurement, and also because this band is in the after hook crochet stitch, it's going to stretch up until my waist measurement. So I think this is the center, which means this part of the panel, which is the front lace, is going to start right on top of this stitch, and this entire, so we're basically going round, round, round up until the back panel, round until this end. So which means this side of the panel is going to end right here, and then this side of the panel is going to start right there. I hope you guys understand. So you're basically, let me do the same thing on the side as well. So this panel, this back panel starts from there all around up until you get here. So you want to attach this front side of the panel onto this front side of the band, and this back side up until this. That's the easiest way for you to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to grab, I still have the yarn that I used for the beginning of the row. I'm just going to grab the yarn and I'm going to attach it to this top part of the band. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm doing, but if you don't, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram and then I'll find a way to just explain this better, or just leave a question down below and I'll make time to answer your questions. But I think this is just a watch me kind of explanation. So right there, I just attached the front side of the panel to the band, right? So what I'm going to do again, I'm just going to grab the string that is still left on the yarn. If you don't have it, then you can just grab the yarn and mark it, because this is also going to be like a stitch marker kind of I'm just improvising, by the way. So you can also just use a stitch marker to mark the stitch if you want to, but because I still have the yarn attached, I'm just going to use the yarn to mark it. So right there, even when I move this, you can tell that I already attached it, which means from where I attached this band, from where I attached the yarn on this panel on the band, all around until where I attach the front panel is going to be where I'm going to force all these stitches into, which means instead of just grabbing one stitch on the band and one stitch on the panel, I'm going to maybe be grabbing 2 or 3. I don't know how to explain this way more than this, because it's going to be different depending on how many inches you added to your initial bust measurement. But because again, you guys did see that I added way more stitch than I usually would, and that's because I want my bust area to be super wide, so this falls around. That's actually the design, so you should do the same thing. So now I already attached these two, right? So which means this side is going to be left for this panel, while I'm going to now go ahead and force these entire stitches onto the small band. Remember, this is a band, so you can stretch this as you go, which automatically makes it wider for you to fit in all the stitches. So don't be scared thinking, oh, how am I going to fit all the stitches into this band, because it's definitely possible. And also, this is a lace, which means you can also skip some stitches without even noticing that there is a gap. So I'm now just going to grab a fresh yarn and I'm going to secure that to the side of the panels with a secure knot. After doing that, I am now going to go ahead and single crochet my way around the band. Again, remember, because I have way more stitches on the panel compared to how many stitches I have on the band, I would probably have to just play around by single crocheting 1 to 2 on the panel around the band, right? So now I'm going to go through the band, and then I'm going to go through the first stitch on the pattern, which is this lace, grab, pull through, and I usually just chain 1. I have this excess yarn which I'll just take care of at the very end, but from here on I'm going to go into the next available space. So I'm going to go into the next available space on the band, and I'm going to go into the next available space on the panel, which is this lace panel for the front, and I'm just going to grab and single crochet. I'm going to go into that same space on the band, and into this panel I'm going to go into the next instead of going into the same, because again, like I said, you want to go into the same space on the band, but then you're moving on the panel. That way you're attaching way more stitch around one side of the panel, guys. I don't know how else I can explain this, but I hope you guys understand. So that is what I'm going to just gradually just do. And you want to make sure at the same time that you're not squeezing the stitches, so at the end you have less tension around this end. You want to just equally just eye mark and tell where you need to do more stitch, where you need to do just one or less, if it makes sense. But that's what I'm going to continue to do. Grab a stitch, grab a stitch, grab a stitch, single crochet, grab a stitch, single crochet, and I'll see you guys when I have that complete. Guys, so I have this one panel attached, and this is how it looks. A bit crazy, but you can see that the stitches look super neat on the opposite side. This is how the stitches look on the opposite side of the panel, which is the right side. So I still have the rest of the band to attach this other panel onto the band. Again, I'm doing the same exact method. I'm just going to make sure the seam is on the side, because I will be attaching with the seam. And I'm just going to again attach this side of the panel onto this side, exactly where I ended off with the back panel on the opposite panel. I'm going to go all around until I get to the very top where I attach this one side of the front panel up until this side as well. Hopefully you guys understand what I mean, but I just wanted to come on and show you guys what it looks like this. A bit crazy, but I'm just going to attach this to this using the same method, and then I'll see you guys when I have this panel on this band, so we can put everything on and see what the next step is. So I just finished attaching the opposite panel to the top. You can see that the back panel goes inwards while the front panel just ends right there with a gap at the center. So now we're going to go ahead and single crochet all around the edge of the panel, just so we can have a solid base. So I'm going to attach the yarn and just go around. So still with the 2.5 millimeter, I'm just going to grab the yarn and attach the yarn to one side of the one edge of the front panel. So after attaching your yarn, we are going to just go ahead and work a loop for the base of this panel. So what you're going to do, you're going to go into that very first stitch, grab the yarn, chain one, and after chaining one, you're going to go into the next stitch with a single crochet. After your single crochet, you're going to go ahead and chain 3, and after chaining 3, you're going to skip 2 stitches, and into the third you're going to go with a single crochet again, and this gives you a tiny loop where you can pass your yarn to lace up. After that, you're going to go ahead and chain 3 again, skip 2 stitches, and into the third you're going to go with a single crochet, chain 3, skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, and into the third with a single crochet, chain 3, and repeat until you get to the very top of the band. So right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 loops where I will be passing through with the yarn to drawstring the edge of the band together. So I only have 1 more stitch left, so what I'm going to do is go into that stitch with a single crochet, and right after that stitch I have this front panel, and I'm going to go all around the front panel up until the back, all around the back of the opposite panel up until the band, where I'll repeat the same chain 3 single crochet, so I can have the same loop on the opposite side as well. So coming to the top, I'm just going to go ahead into that very first stitch with a single crochet, and I'm basically just going to work my way into every available space with 1 single crochet, because this is not like the edge of a panel, so you can't really see the stitches. you're just going to go into one single crochet with one single crochet into every available loop, making sure you're not adding too much, but at the same time you're not adding too little, because this is just going to be a fine base for the edge of the front, for the front part of the panel, and also the back as well, just so we can have one line that goes all around to combine all the panels together. So I'm just going to repeat all this single crochet around. This is what it looks like after the first few rows. You can see that this knittings off the edge of the panel. I'm going to repeat that all around, and then I'll see you guys when I get to the band, because we're going to repeat the same thing. So I'm just going to go all around. When I get to the top, go all the way down. When I get to this point, I'm just going to switch to this panel and do the same thing all around until I get to the band again. So right here I'm coming to the band, the opposite side of the band. So we're going to do the same thing. Into the very first stitch on the band, I'm going to go with a single crochet. In this case, you just want to count how many loops you have on the opposite side, so you can have the same amount on the side, just to avoid any extra loop or any missing loop. So right here I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which means I still need to have 6 on this side as well. So after the single crochet, I'm just going to go ahead and chain 3, and I'm going to skip the first 2 stitches, and into the third I'm going to go with a single crochet, chain 3, and I'm going to repeat this until I get to the very end. Again, I still want to make sure I have 6 of these by the end of the band. Now that we have this complete, we are almost complete with the top. What I might do is I'm going to, in this case, attach from the double crochet downwards, and then I leave the lace side open. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to grab the 2 ends of the panel, align the double crochet together, and I'm going to grab the yarn, grab the stitch each, making sure I'm starting right from the single crochet on the double crochet and not the lace, because you're leaving the lace open. The lace part is going to stay open, but you're only single crocheting this back part together. So this side is going to be open, and you're only going to single crochet the back. So now it's going to be super easy. I'm just going to go into each and every stitch on the both sides and just single crochet the 2 together all the way to the very end. But you also want to make sure you're doing this where the seam is, guys, because you want to make sure all the seam of your attaching pieces together is at one side, all on the same side. So I'm just going to repeat this, and I'll see you guys when it's complete. I finished the back, so I attached it. I'm just going to go ahead and cut off and sew in and cut off all the loose ends that I have, because at this point we are almost complete. The only thing we have to do now is just make a chain that is going to be used for the lace up at the very front, and then we are done. So for the drawstring, I'm going to go ahead and double the string, just because I don't want to go back with a double crochet into that chain, and I want to make a thick enough loop basically. So I'm just going to double the string and make a slip knot and just chain a random chain, guys. This is definitely something you can just play around with, depending on how. I'm still using the 2.5, by the way. I'm just going to go ahead and make a random chain that is long enough to lace up the piece around the waist area, and just have a little string line around, just for whatever reason. I'm just going to make a random chain. So now that I have the chain, all I'm going to do is I'm going to sew the chain, not sew, just lace up this side of the top. So I'm going to grab the side, one edge, and I'm going to go into the first loop, which is the loop right here. Go into that loop, grab the yarn, go through, and grab the opposite side of the string, and I'm going to go into the first loop on the opposite side, pull through. Make sure I align these two. I'm going to make sure these two are in the same lengthwise, and then I'm just going to wrap the yarn, pull through on the opposite, just the way you lace up a shoelace. Honestly, that's the basic explanation to this, and that's what I'm going to do until I get to the very end. So I'm just going to align the two and cut off the excess yarn and make sure that is just equal. Guys, so I decided to put on the top and see if I like it. I think this is the bra that I'm going to eventually wear with the top, so it just makes sense that I just put this on. And the side, so there was supposed to be an opening right there. It's still fine, you can still wear this again. Like I said, you can wear this as a jacket as well, but for the purpose of this entire outfit and the purpose of the set, I think I'm going to go ahead and single crochet a bit of just the same thing I did to the back, I'm going to do to the front. So I'm just going to find the center ground where the double crochet stitch starts, and I'm going to mark basically 11 stitches upwards, so 11 laces upwards. So 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 should be above this part, and I think I'm going to go ahead and single crochet this entire, right from the 11th all the way to the end, just because I like the look way more instead of just having the opening right there. I don't think it looks bad. I am so confused at this point, because now that I'm looking at it, I don't think it looks entirely bad, but I think it will just look so much better if this entire part is just sealed just the same way the back is. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And guys, right here we have the final top. I need to put this on so I can know how I feel about it exactly, but you guys have already seen from the thumbnail, you already know what the top looks like on. But this is the final result. Let me know what you guys think, and if you like the video and if this video was helpful, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up, and also just comment if you guys want a styling video of me styling the entire piece together. And I guess I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye and take care.